This is INCRadio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesianicristo.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to New Jersey Satellite Studio, where we show you the flavor of life here in the District of New Jersey. Hey everyone, and welcome back to INCRadio New Jersey Satellite Studio, where we show you the flavor of life. And for today's flavor, it's actually pretty appropriate since the school year's ending. So these are tips for next year, and for those who for the students out there, and also those who would like to learn anything. Today's show will be about study habits and cramming methods, which I know I've had quite an experience with. You could call me a cranberry, actually, which also means I'm a bit tart and can turn red at times. Although I don't float when I'm in water.
Wait, did you say cranberry? CRAM?
Yeah, cranberry.
Oh, Jeff. All right. I didn't know they floated either. So
yeah, now you know. Although we hope you as a student will float to the top and be the cream of the crop when you use these study habits, and hopefully not cramming methods, because and it's good if the knowledge sticks with you. Yeah, it's good if it sticks with you, not like a cranberry that can bounce. Okay, that metaphor only lasted for a little bit. How about you, Leigh? What's your experience on this? I know you two are a constant learner. So, how's the studying end?
I am a constant learner, and I'm not good at cramming. I have to learn things right at the top, otherwise it doesn't stick. And if you're telling me that I should still learn how to do trig problems, that ship has sailed. I agonized over that. So if we're going to be talking about math today, I don't know. I'm going to blank out. But but we are always learning, and even in our professional capacities at our jobs, we're always taking continuing education courses, and maybe we want to pick up, I don't want to say another degree, but sometimes we do. So our conversation today will give us an insight onto what it's like to be a student nowadays, where I find that they have less and less textbooks, which I have no idea how that works. Yeah, it's all online. You don't have like a book bag full of overpriced or like $300 textbooks like we had when I was in college. So I'm excited, actually. Why do you look, Jeff? You look a little panicked.
No, because that's why I'm built like a T-Rex. I have big quads because I would keep those big textbooks in my backpack, and just lugging them wherever you go, upstairs and down, and yeah. Now I can lift a school bus. Well,
unintentional leg days, right? Yeah, when the books couldn't fit all of them couldn't fit in the book bag, and you had to carry some in your arms. That was definitely me. If you want to imagine Kathleen in high school and college, definitely. Although I never owned I never owned a Trapper Keeper. Not that we're promoting. I don't know if that brand is even still alive.
Good question. I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
For those who didn't have a Trapper Keeper, it's what we now call a binder. But instead of metal rings,
it was a fancy binder. I don't know. We have a resource speaker today. It's not just us. We have a guest speaker today, and I'd actually be interested to know if she knows, or if she ever had.
Yeah.
Because the binder was a little fancy. You might have a picture of of your favorite pop star on it, or your favorite TV show is like a, I don't know, it's like an upgraded lunchbox. But anyway,
Yeah. Although the rings were plastic, the rings were plastic instead of clipping like this. There was a slider. Anyway, that's dating myself. Yeah, but not someone to be who's considered old. Yeah, we joining us today is Angelica Amoris from Bergen, and she is such an A student. Those are her initials, double A. All right. And just like a double A, she is a battery full of energy, and she is studying data and analytics. She's a data analytics major over at Stevens Institute of Technology. So, hey, Angelica, good morning. How's it going?
Hi, everyone. Hello to all of our viewers that are tuning in to today's episode. And hello to Katea, Jeff. I'm really excited to be a part of today's episode.
so we need to know, do you know what a trapper keeper is?
I actually searched it up really quickly. I've heard of a trapper keeper. I searched it up now. I think I have seen it in stores, but I've never owned it.
Oh, are they still in business? Okay. They only lasted like 2 months for most of my classmates. Yeah, because they just get thrown around. It was the place where you just wrote all over it. It was just, a place to write things and doodle on. So anyway, all right. So we know you are an A student in many other ways. Even as a high school student, you were definitely on your way to a successful career. So we're going to get started with our discussion. Are there any popular study habits or hacks that you think are overrated or ineffective?
I think when I think of popular study habits or hacks that are overrated or ineffective, I think of three things. Underlining and highlighting is one, multitasking is one, and rereading textbook notes repeatedly is one. And so when I'm talking about underlining and highlighting, I mean merely just underlining and highlighting, because sometimes students confuse that for active recall, when in reality is you're not actually retaining any information. And if anything, visually, you are causing your eyes to basically pay attention to so much information, when in reality, the point of studying and going through the information that you're learning is to understand it in a way that you understand. And so when you're underlining and highlighting everything, you are making yourself feel like you need to know word for word everything because you're overdoing it. And for multitasking, I think that sometimes we have the tendency to think, let me put on a show in the background, or let me listen to music while I'm studying. I know that for some people, this might work. Maybe they're listening to lo-fi music, so it might work a little bit. But we also have that tendency, especially if it's a show that we know or a song that we know, we might join along to singing it and maybe to even stopping to watch the show. But multitasking can be a distraction. And the last point is rereading textbook notes repeatedly. I personally think it's better to rephrase things after you have read the information in a way that you will understand. But this will help you to really understand things in simpler ways because it's teaching you in the language that you understand. But I also think that it can differ based on the subject that you are learning, because recently I actually took my business law class. And so when you're studying law, it relies a lot on language precision. So it might be more important to actually reread the textbook, but it's most of the time it's not really something that is necessary or important when you're trying to retain information.
I was going to say, working in the legal field, it's definitely not worth it to reread the entire textbook, but to understand the content is too much. And if you have finals coming up, how do you have enough time to reread the textbook? So, Jeff, are you guilty of highlighting and underlining?
I am an underliner, actually, but I also pair the underlining with writing in the notes. So, Angelica, as you mentioned, don't just underline, word it in a way that, allows for you to recall and that you understand it. So that's where the notes in the margin come in. Um, Yeah, I am an underliner. I'm not a highlighter because, like, I mean, yeah, that means you have to have another thing in your pack. I mean, sometimes I would highlight, but yeah, it just means you have another pen.
I
But yeah,
I would always get annoyed like the highlighting if it bleeds to the other side. So I'm an underliner with colored ink and also notes on the side, and I also use tabs. And
yes.
I'm a more of a rote learner, so especially for subjects that just are more difficult for me. So I don't know. I feel a little intimidated, Angelica. It's just like, and I'm not a multitasker. Although if I sit in a quiet space like at the library at a cube, I will fall asleep. So maybe that's not the best environment. All right. Well, what's our next question, Jeff?
All right. So, Angelica, you told us about these methods and you told us what doesn't work, or at least what didn't work for you, and what are some of the more traditional methods that maybe you debunked. How did you discover the study routine that worked best for you?
I think just listening to you both, um, everyone has a different study routine that works best for them. This also depends on the type of subject that you are learning. So I would say that the way that I discovered the study routine that worked for me was mainly just through trial and error. Just seeing which methods help me to retain information better, specifically for that specific subject. Because as a college student, I'm studying different subjects too. And for example, I can't study code just by repeating it. It's something that I actually have to, put down in whatever language I'm using to test it out to make sure it's actually running. So doing something like active recall isn't necessarily going to work, especially if you're trying to remember the proper syntax for things. Also, when it comes to math, most of the time it's not effective to, let's just say, write your notes on your laptop. You're writing down formulas and equations. So the study tip for that is really just to handwrite it, to practice through problems. So it's important to take the time to really test it out for yourself to see what works and also to acknowledge what type of study routine works best for the different subjects that you're studying.
So for your more challenging courses or the ones that you don't like, do you do anything differently? Do you avoid it most? or do you work at it the most?
I think it's more that I spend more time on it the most. It's also really important to cross check with your peers, especially when you're talking about the notes that you took in class. I had a class recently where the professor didn't have any PowerPoint slides. He didn't post anything. So if you missed a class, you had the responsibility of asking a peer for the notes. But then he didn't write down anything on the board either. So you're really just listening to him talk. And you have to make sure that you're writing down the most important points. So for me, I think when it came to the harder subjects, it was really cross-checking with my peers to make sure I understand the information, reaching out to the professor if I needed help, and also gauging my learning based on how I was doing with homework that we were doing. Of course, if you're getting things wrong on homework, it's important to correct yourself and understand where you went wrong, so that way you don't get that wrong when you actually have to take the exam.
Yeah,
I,
or as I would word it, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
All right. Well, before we move on to the next question, I wanted to ask you, where in the classroom do you sit relative to the teacher?
I actually don't sit, I'm going to be honest, I sit where there's an outlet. Because I take notes, and there's a reason why. For most of my classes, I do take notes on my laptop. And it's actually because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And that's something I learned over the years, where if I'm handwriting something and to me it does not look good, I'm going to erase it. And then I'm going to try to write it again. And if it still doesn't look good, I'm going to erase it. So then I figured I might as well use an app of some sort to take down my notes so that way I'm not bothered by how it looks aesthetically. And it's also a faster way of note taking. But then again, it depends on the class, because sometimes if I'm in a math class, then I still need to have my notebook to actually write down formulas.
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
totally agreed that I type faster than I write, and I type more accurately, better than my handwriting is legible. And for anyone who's ever had to read my handwriting, I apologize for all of the therapy and medication that you need in order to read it.
I was gonna say that's so you actually have a customized template up for your notes, Angelica. So you set that for each class, or do you set that for all your notes?
I structure my notes the same way for all of my classes, but I study differently for my class.
Okay. So it's more about the aesthetic of how your notes look on your.
Yes,
We
yes.
should have asked you for a screenshot to see what design it is. But I don't want to run out of time, so we'll come back to that if we have time. So, what is one study habit you wish you had learned earlier?
This is the one study habit that I learned about, but I never actually applied until last semester. So this is fairly new, but actually talking out loud through the concepts, because I like to study in quiet spaces. So I don't have, of course, if you're in the library, you're not going to start making noise and start talking to yourself. But talking out loud actually helped me to understand whether I can teach the subject or whether I can teach the concept. And so that was my way of checking myself whether I was actually understanding the information. So I haven't tried
So,
that out yet, but that was just something I did last semester.
so do you pretend that you're presenting the information?
It's more like I assess my understanding. So I give myself questions and then I answer the questions out loud.
So is this like, it sounds like the flashcard method, which I don't know if people still do. Is that how it works for you?
I think people still use the flashcard method, but digitally, because I use digital flashcards.
I don't know. That
Is that on
see,
your,
I
is that
like
on your,
having like the stack of index cards.
is that on,
Actually, that's how I learned too.
is that on
Yeah.
your phone though? Like digitally, or is it a
Yes.
tablet? I'm with you, Jeff. I like to have something, and also if you have a study partner, or if you force like your family member to be your study partner, test me. You can just hand them the stack of cards. Is that how it works, Angelica?
Um, well, for me, I actually don't work best studying with other people. I I like to study by myself. To do work and assignments, I like to work with other people to make sure we're both understanding how to do it. I've done group work even when it comes to assignments because sometimes our professors let us collaborate with each other on assignments. So I've done that. But because I'm the type of person that likes to study when it's quiet, I don't study with other people. It's very much a solo thing.
Nah, totally with you on that one. Because I've found that when you study with other people, you end up teaching it to them, which can help. But yeah.
So you can't. So you don't like sitting with a group of people, even if everyone's quiet and studying on their own.
No,
No.
I will be honest, like, especially with my group of friends, I am the distraction because I'm gonna start talking. Like we'll try to study together. It's always those situations where you're like, okay, let's study at a cafe together, but then you end up talking about everything else and then you don't
Oh,
actually get to study.
okay.
And usually I'm the like initiator of that, unfortunately. So that's why I just for self-control purposes I like to study by myself.
Well, at least you have the self-awareness of what works best for you. I think that's also college is also a time where you learn that. So I'm glad you. I think you knew that early on, even in high school, right, Angelica? No.
So high school I was doing too much, but yeah, that's how I learned.
All right. Jeff has your next question.
All right. Now, Angela, you did mention in high school you were doing too much. Often, especially these days, we all find like we're doing too much. Your brain's only this big and you're trying to just dump all this information in. So, how do you deal with procrastination or burnout?
I think in general, when I am procrastinating, I like to break down the tasks because when you're procrastinating, the one thing you want to feel is like that you are slowly getting things done rather than not getting anything done at all. And so when you at least break down your tasks and you break it down in a way that's doable and in a way that gives you the time that you need to complete the task, then it helps you to actually get through all of your tasks without feeling so overwhelmed. But when you feel burnt out, for me, I think in high school, I had this mentality where I had to just keep going all the time. I was the type to study in the library during lunch. But I've learned, especially, how important it is to schedule non-productive time in between studying, like walking, having a conversation with your friends, doing something towards, your hobby, because those are things that at the same time are productive, because we're human beings, we're not robots, we can't be studying all the time. And so it's really important that we take care of ourselves, because the way I look at it is, if you don't take care of yourself and you burn out, it will take you even longer to do the task, as opposed to if you're taking care of yourself while you're studying and doing the work that you need to do, it helps you keep going, as opposed to trying to do everything at once and then burning out.
Wow, that
Wow.
really hits close to home.
I know it's hard to stop yourself, I think. So, those learning moments are really important. But before we get to the last question, which is what are your top 3 tips for students or for anyone who's learning? I wanted to ask you, does coffee play a role in your study habits?
I actually avoid drinking coffee. I try to only drink it when I need to, but I have
When
switched
when is the need?
when I have a lot of things to do and I need to stay up. I've actually learned when to drink coffee, because I learned that if I'm drinking coffee right when I need the energy, it's not going to work. I need to drink the coffee maybe a couple hours prior, so that way I get the energy when I need it to come. But I've switched over to matcha. So that's a little less caffeine. So that's worked better for me to get me going through my day, but it's still definitely not a daily thing.
So your matcha, so you don't have a tea, matcha, or coffee routine, like a daily one.
I do have a routine, but not a daily one.
Okay. All right. I know for previous shows, I wish I had drunk coffee in college. I was not a coffee drinker in college, and I think that's one of my biggest regrets. Probably would have been more productive if I was a coffee drinker. So, all right. So, last question, because we are running out of time. What are your top 3 tips?
I think my top 3 tips, especially because um, we're Christians, my first tip would be to pray before studying, after studying, before your exam, after your exam, and maybe if you're feeling anxious, even during your exam too. Um, and preparing for your exams early is another tip, because it's really important to make sure that what you're studying is correct information. So it's important to take the time and opportunity to cross-check that with your peers, but also with your professor, to make sure you're understanding the material. And sometimes your professors might be able to give insights as well on the way that they will test information. So that can also gauge the way that you're studying. And I think the last tip is to really take care of yourself. So that way your health is in top shape to study, because that can help you in the long run.
Uh-oh.
I
Guilty.
feel so guilty right now.
No, those are great. So, Angelica, I know part of our topic is best cramming method. So the best cramming method is not to cram, would you say?
Yes. But if needed, plan out your cramming well.
Which is still about preparation. So not the true cramming. There used to be these old wives' tales, like if you sleep with your book under your pillow, you would absorb the information. That's not true. Or sleep on top of your notes. That's not true either. I don't know if Jeff has any other old wives' tales about cramming that helps you absorb knowledge, but
Oh no, yeah, I was definitely one of the persons that's like slept with my notes, so it's like, and absorbed it through the skin.
I was gonna say waking up with pen marks on your face. Yeah, that's usually sign of late night studying. All right, thank you so much, Angelica, for your tips. For those of you who are hoping for the best crying method is to prepare. So And yeah, don't forget to say your prayers. But Angelica, do you have any shout outs or greetings for today?
I just want to give a shout out to my friends and family in Bergen and throughout the District of New Jersey.
All right, very cool. Thanks so much, Angelica. And I know we're gonna see your name in lights soon for graduation. So looking forward to that. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our next segment, which is our shout out segment. Let's see that bumper. We have one.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Good morning. Happy birthday. Congratulations. I have to shout out.
Mom, Dad, best friend.
All right, we we have so much. I have paragraphs of comments, Jeff. So I'm gonna go to you first for your shout outs.
Okay, going through it quickly. Happy birthday to brother Michael Ipano. Happy birthday also in advance to brother Bernard Gerzon. Happy birthday to ZJ Magante. We miss you. You used to see her artwork on our show all the time. Happy birthday also to Gabriel Dagatot. Happy birthday to former New Jerseyan, he's from Pennsylvania, but J.R. Aliganga. Actually, no, he was from SNJ, but happy birthday, bro. And happy birthday to Michael De Jesus, former New Jerseyan over in Guam. And happy birthday to Daniel Dandan Gaspar over in Doha, Qatar. And happy birthday to Menchu Paras in San Fernando, Pampanga.
Wow, there's a lot of birthdays. Happy birthday, everyone. Enjoy your celebrations. All right, from our live chat, we have brother Mario Oka from Bergstonville, District of Caloocan North. Hello, hello. Thanks for tuning in. We also have greetings from Janet Duyao Ortiguero from the locale of Hukao, Taiwan. Wow, what a mouthful. She's also extending her greetings to the executive minister, brother Eduardo Manalo and brother Angelo Manalo. All right, on the topic. I think this is from Grace. For me, rewriting and paraphrasing the notes or passages I've taken are a surefire way to ensure I really comprehend it. If I can't explain it, I don't know it well enough yet. But your specialty was botany, right, Grace? So how do you rephrase dirt? So dirt and plants. When we have her back on the show, I'm going to ask her about this comment specifically. All right. From Maricel, I can't understand my boys watching a show while doing their homework. They say it actually helps them watch, which is unbelievable. And he's an honor student. So are you talking about both your sons or just one? Because we went from they to he. So, all right. From Abe, tablets and folders with pens can work great for formulas. A convertible Windows tablet got me through all of my university math. Oh, I can't talk about math. From Michelle Rizal, it's more effective for me to write down notes and typing or taking a picture of the notes. Same with brother Abe. Yeah, but you don't have time. That's the problem. You have time to rewrite all your notes. Who has time? Okay. And then from Naima, last comment before we move on to our next segment, because we're running out of time. I think procrastinating is your brain's way of saying we need to take a brain break. Agree. Or a nap. I feel like I feel overwhelmed, it's like maybe I need a 5-minute nap, if those exist. All right, tossing it over to you, Jeff.
All right, and we have our hashtag. So, Kuya Tech, let's go for the bumper.
Now announcing our hashtag winners.
Honorable mention, we have Bergen. Congratulations, Bergen. That's Angelica, that's us. Awesome. Okay, in third place, we have Bayonne. Congratulations, Bayonne. In second place, we have the City of Brotherly Love, Philadelphia. Congratulations, Philadelphia. And in first place, drum roll please, we have Winning Winslow. Congratulations, Winslow. You are our hashtag winner of the previous show. All right, over to you, Celia.
Wow, Winslow's back on board. Is that because of Marisol? That's her locale, right? Marisol and Naima. Congrats, Winslow. We haven't seen that in a while for first place. Before we move on to our upcoming activities, we want to say hello to Sally San Martin from Babanwang. Wow, a mouthful. Babanwang, Isabella West, and also former New Jerseyan, Renalyn Rodriguez, all the way from Jacksonville, North Carolina. Hello to you, and thanks for tuning in and sharing this link with your kids, her daughter just graduated from college. So I'm sure she knows something about it. She's moving on to pharmacy school. So maybe we should have her on the show as well. I don't know. I can't learn all those chemistry things. Parts of the body. All right. Our activity update. We have a bumper.
Activity updates.
Love those bubbles. All right, we have one tomorrow, and if you go to this, you will see Angelica there live and in person. We have tomorrow at 6 p.m. in the Bayonne Chapel. We have the Christian Brotherhood International Cybersecurity Seminar. I actually might go to this one too, as well. A lot of people are getting scammed nowadays, so be a good way to learn how to tell what's real and what's fake. All right, and please check with your local congregation for details on local events and the daily Bible study schedule. And next up, we have our CFO in action.
CFO in action.
The members of the Church of Christ in the District of New Jersey recently gathered for a fun-filled flag football game, bringing together the brethren in a spirit of camaraderie and fellowship. As they played on the field, laughter and shouts of encouragement filled the air, with participants of all ages and skill levels joining in on the excitement. The friendly competition allowed members to bond over their shared faith while enjoying some healthy exercise and teamwork. Through this engaging activity, the church members strengthened their relationships and created lasting memories, all while glorifying God in their interactions with one another. The event served as a wonderful reminder of the importance of community and fellowship within the church. Plans are already underway for future gatherings and activities that will continue to foster a sense of unity and purpose among the brethren. The event also featured various booths, offering a diverse range of delicious foods, which contributed to the festive atmosphere. Entertainment was also available, which ensured that everyone had a great time. The event wasn't just about the adults, as various games were set up specifically for the little children, keeping them entertained and engaged throughout the day. Led by the Assistant District Minister, Brother Ruben Bustos, the Brethren in the District of New Jersey continue to be united in all of the activities launched by the church administration. This was our CFO in action over the past week. From the District of New Jersey, this is Sister Shay Diane Apalacio. We'll have more on the CFO in action next week. See ya!
Oh, I wanted to see if someone actually caught that ball in that last shot. All that running made me feel a little tired. So thanks for that, Maricel and Diane. All right, and that's it for today's show. Sadly, I know we had a comment about organic chem, but we'll save that for another time. Thank you to everyone who tuned in today's show. If you found value in our discussion today, please like and subscribe for more content like this. And if you think this episode would be helpful to someone you know, please share the link with them. And if there is a topic you would like to hear about or want to join the panel for a discussion, you feel free to reach out to me or Jeff or anyone from our INCRadio crew.
And before we go, we'd like to thank our church administration for their continued support to INCRadio and allowing us to have this show where we can stay connected and learn together and hopefully not cram, but learn a lot. We especially thank our beloved executive minister, Brother Eduardo Manalo, and our SEBC president and CFO coordinator, Brother Angelo Manalo. We'd also like to thank our INCRadio station manager, Brother Wally Tarai.
And before we say goodbye, we again thank all of our viewers for taking the time to watch this episode. And we hope you will come back next week on our next episode for INCRadio New Jersey. Take care, everyone. See you next time. Oh.
This is INC Radio, DCEM 954, the voice of